I really appreciate this opportunity to share with you some insights on this very interesting topic. But I'm sure that I'm amongst friends, I'm amongst experts, so we are going to learn together as we go along. So to start us off, the topic for our discussion today is funding for your organization. I have called it a step-by-step guide for non-profits and small micro enterprises. And you can connect via LinkedIn. And as I've been introduced, I am the chairperson of the Kenya Association of Fundraising Professionals. You can visit us on the web. And I'm also I'm the manager of the CPF Foundation and Pension Club. And in this particular meeting today, the views which I'm sharing are personal, and they do not necessarily represent the ones for the CPF Financial Services Limited. So I just wanted to do that disclaimer from the onset. Okay, so we are just going to get into the meat of the discussion. And the presentation I'm sharing today is divided into 6 more or less different parts, but I'm going to try to cover it as much as possible within the next 30 or so minutes, and then we can have some minutes for discussion. So we are going to discuss a bit about, just as part of introduction, what are SMEs and what are non-profit organizations, and then we'll just have an overview of funders and how to approach them, and then we'll also discuss key steps to follow to mobilize resources for your organization. So again, this will be general, not necessarily specific to one particular organization, but just general tips which you can use, as we are approaching these different organizations. And there's a few case studies if we find time, and some pitfalls to avoid, and some possible sources of funding which are currently available, which you can access as we are speaking. So just to set the records, or rather to set the ground, non-profit organizations are defined as organizations that are private, are organized, they are not commercial, and they don't distribute any profits or income to directors. Again, in Kenya, they include NGOs, they include cooperatives, foundations, trusts, unions, women groups, youth groups, self-help groups, etc. So it is just good to clarify with this. So when we talk of non-profits, we're talking of all these type of organizations. On the other hand, when we talk of small, medium, or small micro enterprises, they come in 3 types. So SMEs are generally small businesses with an annual turnover of less than 1 million Kenya shillings. And there are 3 types. What we're calling the micro enterprises, the small enterprises, as well as the medium enterprises, depending on the number of employees. In Kenya, SMEs account for over 75% of the people in employment and contribute about 18% to the Kenyan economy. And just from the onset, some of the key constraints to SME growth include lack of market opportunity, access to finance, and also a difficult enabling environment. So the topic we're discussing today is very, very timely for the SMEs and even the non-profits we're talking about. So this is the news that appeared in the papers a couple of months ago, that despite of the SMEs contributing almost creating all those level of employment, 2.2 million SMEs shut down in the last 5 years. And I'm talking of 2.2 million SMEs. I'm talking of the small mama bogas, people who started cereal shops, like people who started cyber, people are hawking. So, the number 2.2 million might appear is too big, but it includes almost everybody who started doing some business, but stopped. And then when it comes to big registered companies, almost 9,000 registered companies closed shop in the last 5 years. So you see, the economy is quite difficult. And aside from funding, the other factors which are affecting the growth of this sector. And as you can see on the bullet number 4, is that many SMEs closed at around 4 years. So they start 1 year, 1, 2, 3, by 4 years, many of them have closed down. So I wanted to do this Zoom or Menti poll, but because of time, I would like to just to find out, just type in the inbox, in the chat box, for the sake of our understanding, what type of organization are you? Are you a micro enterprise? Just type there in the chat. You can introduce yourself by saying whether you are an SME, you are a micro, small, or medium enterprise. You can also say whether you feel you are an NGO, cooperative, or a foundation, just for the sake of us to understand. So just type in the chat box the organization that represents you, whether you're a trust or a union, or a women group, or a youth group, or self-help group. So please chat in the chat box so that we have a feel of who is in the room. So I'm now going to part 2, where I'm going to give you a general overview of different types of funders and how to approach them. This is a precursor to what I'll be sharing next on the general steps that you can use to approach them. So to start us off, just generally, I'm going to speak about foundations, corporations, individual donors, and income, major donors, government agencies, impact investors, crowdfunding, wealth individuals or high net worth individuals, service organizations, bank loans, philanthropies, venture philanthropies, circles and cooperatives, family resources. So all these are options where you can get funds. I know there could be much more. And even these 15 are just a few. And then I'm just going to share a little bit insights into some of them. So when you talk of foundations, we need to understand the motivations of these organizations, why they exist, why they support, and then tailor your approach accordingly. So many foundations are typically driven by a commitment to address specific social issues, whether they are national or international foundations. So the funds that they put there are allocated to support charitable activities aligned with their mission areas. So from the onset here, you have to align your mission and activities with the foundation goals. So that means you need to really check out what are these foundations' potential areas of focus, what are they doing, and demonstrate alignment. The other area I would like, as we go on, just take notes, are wealthy individuals, which otherwise are called high net worth individuals. In Kenya, high net worth individuals are defined as those people are earning $1 million, or rather have got an asset value of $1 million, including their places of residence. And for wealthy individuals, sometimes their main intention is to gain recognition. They also want to create social impact. Others are looking for political positions, and many others. So when you're approaching this group of people, you also need to know what they are looking for. So the other group of funders, which just want to, just as part of introduction and in general, is what we're calling multilateral as well as bilateral funders or donors. So the multilaterals will include the USAID, the European Union's, UK aid is a bilateral, CEDA, Canadian International Development Aid, CEDA, the Swedish International Development Aid, and others. So these ones are also good to know. And as we go and give you more information about them, these are international organizations which are also dealing with international issues, but these international issues are also localized. But short while give you more information about how to approach this, which we are calling like government groupings. The other lot, which all of us here in this particular room are individual donors. Me and every other person who are, somebody asks for you some money, maybe along the street, either in the church or, like the WhatsApp groups. Every day, people are fundraising through WhatsApp groups. So the motivation of many persons are personal values and passions. They may support causes that resonate with their own experiences, beliefs, or interests. So if you are added into a group, let's say for a wedding, you support it because you believe that a wedding is a good thing. But if you are added into a group to support maybe, sport hunting, and that is not your interest, you will just get out of it. So again, the approach there is to build relationships through storytelling, describing what is happening, why the people need to come in, and engagement. So other people use the direct mail, we have the email campaigns, we have social media, and this has really, really risen over the last couple of years. I'm sure almost everyone of us here is in a particular WhatsApp group contributing some money somewhere. The other lot of sort of fundraising is corporations or corporates, like where I'm working and many other corporates around Safaricom, Equity, the many banks. Almost each one of them has started a corporate social responsibility wing. And the main motivation for this lot is enhancing their brand, supporting causes connected to their businesses, and also engaging employees in charitable activities. So if you want to approach this group, you have to think of partnership or sponsorship or course-related marketing campaigns. So you approach them with a mind that they are interested in enhancing their brand. So when you're approaching this group, you have to think from that point of view. Also provide employee volunteer opportunities where the staff of that company can participate in whatever you are doing. So you have to have that one in mind when you're approaching that particular group. Then the other source of funding are commercial banks, whose main interest is actually getting returns or profits. They are widely accessible. They are almost in every town. They are everywhere. But the downside is that majority of them do not support SMEs. In fact, in 2021, banks turned away almost 28% of SMEs that approached them. And the microfinance institutions declined almost 96% of loan applications, citing the high default risk, because many SMEs are, some of them are not properly registered, others do not have collateral. And, so that means we need to know when you're going to commercial banks, their main interest is in returns, so you must be ready for that. So we know quite a number. We have the Equity Bank, we have the JG loan, the KCB Biashara loan, the Cooperative Bank loan. There are so many others. So you must have a strong and bankable business plan. And in a while, I'll be sharing just some insights about business plans. The other area are microfinance institutions, which are also growing all over, including the likes of Faulu Kenya, Busoni, the Kenya Women Microfinance Bank, and others. So this has also exist to provide financial services to small businesses that do not have access to the traditional banking services. Like the previous banking I talked to you about, if you go to them, they're most likely to reject if you don't have collateral, you don't have a good business plan, and such kind of things. But we have also seen a number of NGOs and faith-based organizations getting into the space to support microfinance institutions, the like of Caritas, CARE, NCCK, Plan International, Hand in Hand, and quite a number. So they provide small loans to small business owners and can be repaid over a period of time. So again, for this, you have to come up with a convincing business plan. So just note down business plan as a very key point. And then when it comes to communicating with these SMEs, knowing the challenges that they have when it comes to dealing with when it comes to communicating with the financial institutions, you need to, when you're going there, you go with the knowledge that some of them don't understand the SMEs very well. So you have to know how to explain the nature of your business, describe the plans you have, and communicate your funding needs more clearly. So again, this is just the bullet number 3. Is just you find many people with SMEs having so many bank accounts, some even up to 8 bank accounts. While it might help you access small loans in different places, the challenge is that when you want to really show your credit worthiness and you have so many bank accounts, it can work against you. So just think about it. So the other source of funding are impact investors, and this include people who are focused on venture capital firms, foundations, or individual investors. Their motivation is to generate measurable, beneficial, or social, or something which has got environmental impact. Again, when you're approaching these impact investors, you must have a clear impact thesis or theory of change. You must demonstrate how you're going to work to generate positive change, how your financial model is sustainable, and how you measure and report on impact. So I'm just giving overview of these different sources of funding for now before we go into the nitty-gritties of how to assess them. So again, we will add on year of angel investors, we'll add of seed, people generating seed money, venture capitalists, etc. So there are also this group of people who can support you as you grow up. And for those who want to read more about angel investors, you can Google the Africa Angel Investor Summit, which provides a lot of information where you can get this support. So again, you have to develop innovative and bold ideas that they can support. Then there's the other lot is the venture capitalist. These ones come in when your business has really taken root and has taken off from seed level to angel level. now to venture capitalists. So these are professional investors who also provide financial support to highly chosen businesses. They really select and support those businesses that have got really high chances of success. So venture capitalists mostly invest in a private business with the goal of eventually transforming it into a public company, like taking into becoming an IPO. So the other source of funding, again, is what we all know, is crowdfunding. In Kenya, we have the likes of Mchanga, we have Kiva, which is global, we have GoFundMe. And if you want to go this route, you also have to choose one which is reputable, and you have to have a very compelling online presence, or very strong online campaign with a clear call to action. And then you have to utilize social media and email marketing to promote your campaign, and also offer attractive rewards or incentives for donors who contribute to this particular platform. Of course, there's about mobile loans, which are very popular in Kenya. There's a high demand for mobile loans. You find one person with almost 5 phones or lines, and they have all gotten loan. They call it the Fuliza, also is a loan. The challenge is the high interest loans, the scarcity of information about the fees, but it's also a source for business funding. And also Shylocks. Sometimes when all these other options fail, we've seen this almost everywhere in the streets. They are there. They give you instant cash against TVs, cameras. You can put your logbooks there and you get money. But the interest loans, the interest rates are very, very high. And many people, the way the name is called Shylocks, I don't know what it means, locking you by the neck if you're not able to repay. And then they have government agencies. And here, I would like you to recall the international organizations I mentioned, the bilateral organizations, as well as the multilateral funders, whose main motivation is to promote public policy, societal issues, economic welfare, environment, and generally to advance the public welfare. And again, when it comes to this lot, you have to be very, very competitive when you're applying for funding from this particular lot of people. They come up with competitive calls. So you have to identify the relevant government programs, whether it is national or international, follow the application guidelines, keenly and submit a comprehensive proposal demonstrating how your initiative will meet the specific criteria and public goals. But I want to focus on Kenya, some of the funding opportunities which are there, the Youth Enterprise Fund, the Women Enterprise Fund, and the Hustler Fund is also there. I don't know how many of us have been able to access it, but we're going to read it more today. And then there are also private agencies like Net Fund, National Environmental Trust Fund. We have the Tourism Fund, we have the Water Fund, and the Social Protection Fund. But the one I just mentioned briefly are just out of the 3 is the Hustler Fund, which is quite unique. It is very interesting. You just check it out. I know many of us have not tried it, but it aims to increase access, especially for those at the bottom of the pyramid. It is called the disruptive innovation model. In fact, while it was loaded with a lot of politics, it is turning out to be a game changer, and it is likely to really change how, people access loans online. It is a unique model. For those who don't know, for every 100 shillings you borrow, 95 cents will go into the 95% will be deposited into the borrower's loan account. 3.9395 cents will be deposited into the pension account, and 1% will be deposited in the borrower's savings account. So from every 100 shillings you borrow, actually it's not 3 cents, about 3 shillings go into your pension account, and 1% goes to your savings. So it is 95% that you are able to access to do your business. And the interest loan is also low, 8% per year, which is lower than the rate offered by many banks. Somebody can just check whether this is correct. I got it from the internet, but somebody can corroborate whether this is correct. All you need is a working mobile phone, and you don't need a guarantor nor collateral to access it. Of course, there are other sources of funding, which include shareholders. There's also social enterprise, which can as a source of income. I'm just going to gloss over this because I'm seeing time is moving ahead of me. Yeah, so as I asked you while introducing yourself, for those who have just come in now, I'd ask people to introduce themselves, whether you are a social enterprise, you are a SME, you are an NGO, you are a self-help group. So if you have not, please just put in the chat box so that we know who are you. So on the extreme right is a traditional business, which is purely for profit, and you are targeting the mainstream investors to invest, and you have to capture financial value. On the extreme left are the traditional charities, which are purely like those traditional NGOs giving donations to support, like charitable activities. And then at the middle is the social enterprises. So now moving on to part 4, where I'm going to share with you an overview of some of the key steps you need to follow when it comes to mobilizing resources for your organization. And here there are quite a number. I'll just give you an overview. Just you have to take notes. So, for example, you need to define your mission very clearly. You have to come up with a very good business plan, as I mentioned earlier. You need to have also very diversified funding sources, like the funding sources I've just mentioned to you. You need to look how to bring them together. You have to build relationships. You need to invest in writing winning proposals. You have to invest in measuring and reporting impact, engage your board and directors. You need to network and collaborate with others, have financial transparency programs, adapt to changing needs, and also have advocacy and policy engagement. So again, an overview of all this, and lastly, there seek professional assistance, because fundraising is also a science by itself. It's not just for every other person. So just to start us off again here, I'll not read everything. You must have a very, very compelling mission and impact. Like if I give just for example, the foundation which I'm managing at CPF, is our goal is to target to improve the care and protection for senior citizens, which is an area which is neglected. And from the association point of view, the Kenya Association of Fundraising Professionals, our overall goal is to build ethical fundraising, people who can fundraise in an ethical way. So you have to define and quantify your intended impact, and your goals must be SMART. So that is very, very key, a very key point that you need to note down. The other very, very important point, as I mentioned as a person earlier, is you must have a comprehensive business plan. So this will include key issues like, again, an executive summary. What are you doing? You have a good market analysis, looking at what is the entry point, how is the market looking like, the product that you're doing, who are the competitors, so what is your competitive advantage? And then you also have to describe or have a very strong organizational structure, your management, the staff, the governance structure, and the strategies and techniques that you're going to use. So especially this is very, very critical for SMEs. And then you must have financial projections that create realistic revenue and forecast along with the budget. And finally, you must have a very good risk assessment. So I'm just giving you an overview of a business plan, but for more information, as I mentioned, you need to approach an expert to get all this information. For general non-profit organizations like NGOs, you must invest in writing winning proposals, which address the specific needs and priorities of the funder, clearly outline the organization's mission, impact, and objectives, describe how the funds will be used and the outcomes you expect. And then you must highlight your organization's track record and ability to manage the grant effectively. So you can't ask for a grant of $1 million while in the last 10 years you have only managed like 1,000 shillings. Nobody will take you seriously. And so you also need to have a very strong website which represents you. And this one has been shared in previous coffee talks. And then you have to follow the application guidelines and deadlines meticulously. So you don't come up with your own questions and answer them. You follow exactly what the donor or the funder has asked for. So as I mentioned to you, and I gave you a lot of examples, you have to diversify our funding mix. Like you referred to the previous presentation where I mentioned shared with you almost 15 funding mixes that you can look at. So again, many people take this for granted, that for each donor, for every particular donor you're approaching, you need to invest in what we're calling donor scoping or market research, where you really get to know more about the donor itself, You create a donor persona where you try to profile that donor. What is the ideal donors and investors? How do they look like? What is their motivations and giving capacity? So you don't approach a donor asking for 10 million, while for the last 10 years, they have only been giving 1 million or 500,000 or 100,000 or even 10,000 shillings only. And then you have to segment your audience, and then you develop tailored pitches. So this is just an overview, as I mentioned to you. For more, you can also always come back to me and other professionals which are in this particular platform today. Yeah, and for your benefit, if you take time, you can go to the organizations which are already preparing you, like almost like a ready-made donor scoping platform. So you can check like that one which I've shared with you, bullet number 5, SME Support Center, which provides a lot of funding opportunities which you can access even now. So invest in building relations with these particular donors. Don't just go to them today and expect them to give you money tomorrow. You have to invest in this. And this means, like even this platform today, I know many of us will be following the presentation, but in between, you could be networking. You could see somebody else in the platform, somebody you want to reach out to, and then you build relationships. So these events, whether they're face-to-face or even physical, invest in getting to know who else is in this particular platform, and at least get to know 1 or 2 people. And that is what Power Monday does. So Power Monday is also create an opportunity for networking, keeping your networks informed about whatever you're doing. You need to tell them what you are doing, what are you up to, organize events, workshops. And I saw my colleague, Cindy, in the space, who is very good at organizing events and workshops. Like you need to really invest in building relationships, recognize donors and partners publicly and privately to show your gratitude for their support. So do these events that they feel that they are appreciated, and encourage partners or even donors to share their thoughts and ideas. It is very, very crucial. It helps you to really know what you're doing. Again, I mentioned the importance of measuring and reporting impact. This is very critical. So I will not belabor on this, but it's very, very critical point. Financial literacy, financial transparency is very, very critical. If you want to go funding seriously, you must have audited reports. You must publish your annual reports, and they're easily accessible. Be prepared to answer questions about your financial practices from donors and investors. And something which is very, very key, not only for SMEs, but even for NGOs, CBOs, etc., is the importance of honesty. Honesty in business is a key factor for success. If you're somebody who's not trustworthy, you cheat one person thinking that you will get something tomorrow, but that one person you cheat will tell somebody else about whatever you're doing, and you lose all your customers. So honesty and trustworthiness is very, very key. So be someone who keeps his or her word. And one day I'll share with you something I learned from my father in terms of keeping his word. And he was in the Juakali sector. And through keeping his word, he won a lot of business for many, many years. And, honesty is very, very critical. So if you are in SME business, a non-profit business, underline this as a very, very important point. Again, this is another key area in terms of engaging in a board of directors as to be part of your fundraising. They contribute time and money. You can leverage on their networks to support your cause. And then you need to assign specific fundraising roles or responsibilities to the board members to really support. So they're not just coming to us at the end of the day, things which are happening, asking you a lot of questions, but they should also be contributing to supporting this. And as KFP and even Live Your Dreams in 5 days and many organizations in this platform today, there's a lot who invest in building the capacity of boards to be better than they are. And you can always reach out to Paul Peters for that. So provide regular updates on financial performance and fundraising progress to the board so that they know what is going on. Another key point is definitely you need to adapt to changing trends. Like now we are from a global point of view, what are the global shifts? We need to understand the war taking place in Israel and Palestine, the Gaza Strip. How is it going to affect us? The Ukraine war. Keep an eye on industry trends. Be open to innovative approaches, and stand out by showcasing innovative solutions to the problems they are addressing. Do not just do the traditional way of doing things. There are a lot of innovative ideas which are running around, and we should not be the ones remaining behind. So again, be open to feedback, experimentation, and don't be afraid to try new approaches. And this is where, even in an organization, be open to even employing young people with crazy ideas, but those ideas are actually the future. Persist and keep on trying. Many people try and some of them give up, but you have to keep on trying and learn from failure to become better. Take measured risks. Like you can see there, some people try their vehicles and they want to try how many speed you can it go to. You have to do it with the care. Otherwise, you can press up to 140 and then suddenly it is going to 180 and you're not able to recover. And then you lose all your income. So don't invest just because you want to take a risk. You might lose everything that you had. Competition, you know that there are people win today, there are people will lose. So be ready to face that competition and be aware that in the world there is a winning today and losing tomorrow. So I mentioned to you earlier that you need to invest in terms of assessing professional assistance. Don't try it alone as if you know everything. And when it comes to seeking professional assistance, there are many places to go. Starting here with the Live Your Life in 5D, where the platform is hosted today. There is a Kenya Association of Fundraising Professionals. There is a Social Enterprise Kenya. There is Aspen. There is Ashoka. There is ASEC, Association of Startups in Kenya, East African Philanthropy Network, Resource Alliance, Giving Tuesday, and so many others. So I think, those are just some of the areas where you can go to. Now, I would like to share with you briefly about some case studies, because sometimes you can share these ideas and somebody think, is it real or is it off? So there are 3 organizations which I'll highlight. I won't go through all of them, but I would like you to just think about them. You can check them out in the website and see whether some of the things I've shared today are practices which organizations have done. And the first one is SHOFCO, Shining Off for Communities, which has really is an NGO which has done very, very well in Kibera. It is worthy of checking. There's Jumia and Kopo. These are the commercial enterprises, but they started off as in investments, Copia. So if you think about SHOFCO, when you look at it as an example, and that image there is, we're hoping that SHOFCO is domiciled mostly in Kibra. We're hoping that in a couple of years, that is how Kibra will be looking like. Very nice, with good streets, well, we just have a vision. It is possible. Everything is possible. So when you look at SHOFCO, one of the things they have is that they have a very good, very strong mission and impact. You can look at their mission is to combat poverty, urban poverty, and gender inequality. They also have a very, very good comprehensive business plan. They did that. And then they have diversified sources of funding. If you look at their website, they have so many different sources of funding. So answering to that issue of diversification. And then they've also identified and target different donors and investors. And you can see how it started. And when they all started, one of the, the key things you come across is this actress, Jessica Posner, who is also a co-founder of SHOFCO, became a high-profile advocate for the organization from the onset. I'm rushing against time, so that's why I'm moving a bit faster. So again, they have invested in building relationships. They have invested in grant writing. They have skilled grant writers. They have invested in crowdfunding and online fundraising. So it is a worthy case to look at. They have a social enterprise or and income source. So they have like the Kibera School for Girls. There is a SHOFCO Bakery and Community Center, which is also a source of income. They do impact measurement and reporting, as well as engage their board of directors to do fundraising. If you go to SHOFCO's website, you will see that they have got a very, very rich connection of board of directors. Those are some of the awards they have won. Several of them I just identified here, 12, but more than 30, where the founders have Kennedy Odede, the founder, is somebody really worthy of following and checking as a part of, looking at it. The other organization which started as an enterprise is Jumia. I know all of us of Jumia. I won't go deeply into it. I'm seeing timing is not really on our side. So you can read much more about Jumia, the way it was founded back in 2012. And by the way, it was founded in Nigeria, for those who didn't know, and then it is now in a number of countries around the world. And some of the key success factors which Jumia has really had as initially as an SME and now like a big enterprise is market access and inclusivity, like e-commerce, mobile commerce, diverse products, financial inclusion. But you can go to the website and read more of their history. You can see how they started. It started from seeding funding capital from the early investors, money from the founders, the Nigerian entrepreneurs who started it. And then they got into venture capital. You remember that seed capital, angel capital, venture capital. And then they just went on like that. They made strategic partnerships. And then they did an IPO in 2019, becoming the first startup from Africa to be listed in the New York Stock Exchange. So you can again, you can have your startup right now, and it goes up to that level. It can even be listed in the Nairobi Stock Exchange. So I will not take a lot of time on this. I just want to come to the more or less like almost the last part of the presentation, which is the pitfalls to avoid when it comes to fundraising for your social enterprise, for your NGO, for your micro enterprise, is that, again, diversify. Do not over-rely on a single source of funding because that funding can dry up. Some people lack a clear strategy, so you must have a clear strategy. Failing to define your impact, neglecting social building relationships, inadequate planning and budgeting, poor communication, ignoring donor stewardship, which is very, very critical. I told you of the events, inefficient fundraising practices. You spend a lot of money and then you don't get a good return on investment. Failing to adapt to change. So change sweeps you as you are standing there. And lack of resilience and persistence. Basically, the opposite of the tips I shared earlier. Inadequate compliance and reporting. This one is very critical. KRA can come for you in a big way. They give you slap you with a bill, which takes you completely out of business. So poor financial management, insufficient focus on donor retention, over extending resources, lack of long-term sustainability planning. So this is almost like the last slide for this discussion. And this is like share with you some funding opportunities, which you can Google them. There is a UBA, which I'll share with you in a while. The Women Enterprise Fund, I shared it earlier. The Weather Fund, the ASLA Fund. The USID has launched a funding for SMEs and farmers in Kenya to the DRIP project. There is a SME support center, which I shared with you, the Global Innovation. Then there's a We Do Africa, which is a platform which is attracting, you can access it. It is supported by diaspora, but it can support you even locally. Yeah. There's a MasterCard and GeoFunders. So briefly about the UBA Bank, founded by Tony Elumelu. This one is a big bank supporting a lot of social entrepreneurs in Kenya. In 2021 alone, they disbursed almost 100 million to 196 entrepreneurs. So that is a place you can check out. Just Google and you find more about the Tony Elumelu entrepreneurship program. There is a Catalyst Fund, which is supported by Roddenberry Catalyst, supporting early stage, big ideas and bold vision. So you can check it out from the Google. And yeah, I think I know I've shared with you a lot in a rushed manner, but let me pause here and maybe we just have a few questions and comments before we end the day. So thank you so much. I'll pause there. So Paul Peters, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, you've compacted a lot of information quite fast. Now I know you can turn on your video. Watu wakuone better. People who saw you when we were probably 20. There was one question I saw, the first question from Anthony, and as we are talking about that, there is this question about what is the full name, the full meaning of BRAC. Oh, that was given to That was given by David Ndago. You can just type that BRAC in full, whatever it means. I think we probably have somebody here from Shofco. I'm just suspecting. There was this question from Anthony Wambora. Hello, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Maurice, for a deeply researched presentation. Can the very high rejection rate by banks, microfinance banks, and MFIs, microfinance institutions, be attributed to lack of appropriately aligned financial products? Yes, the high rate of rejection, can it be attributed to a lack of appropriately aligned financial products? That is the first question. I don't know whether you want to handle that or I give you another one as well.
I think we can have a number. So yeah, and I'm also, as I shared earlier, we are in a space of friends. So I'll share my input, and then somebody else also be free to share. But I'm just taking the notes. I've written that one. I don't know whether you can check another one also.
Yeah, there is this other one from Susan Mungai. Thank you, Maurice, for this very comprehensive and eye-opening presentation. Are there institutions that offer grant writing training? That should be easier. Yes. I think so far, yes, there is the third one from Melvin. Why is it that getting an apple pie white founder is a sure ticket to funding? I don't know what that means. Apple pie, whatever. Yeah, then there is that other one that has been sent to me directly. Where do you categorize conservancy initiative? Maybe you start with those ones.
Okay. So thank you
Yeah.
so much. Again, as I mentioned, majority of financial institutions reject loan applications from SMEs. One, it could be because of the financial products which are not aligned, but sometimes also the issue of lack of collateral. You have a weak business plan. You don't have, remember like those things I mentioned, you don't have a very strong clarity of what you are doing. You don't have a strong, not properly registered. Maybe you are registered as a society and you want to do business. And some of those, maybe they're looking for you to be registered as a company. So you have to have the proper registration. So there are a number of reasons. One of them is just like you've talked about, lack of alignment of your financial products, but there could be many more. It could also be like who is in your board, who is doing this business. So when you're presenting a plan, it seems like it is not very tight. Yeah, but you just look at some of the reasons I mentioned earlier. So when it comes to grant writing training, there are quite a number of organizations. Definitely, I need to start by sharing about the Kenya Association of Fundraising Professionals that does this, and even Paul Peters. I've got a number of network of organizations, people who can support you when it comes to grant writing. And there is, I mentioned earlier, the likes of SMEs, there is ASEC, there is SEC. It is a big area. We can always reach out and give advice. And then Melvin, as you're talking about the white powders, this is unfortunately the situation as it is in Kenya. We still don't have so many local people supporting SMEs. We find most of these investors are from outside, and they tend to entrust wrongly that when your business partner is from the other side of the world, they give you more trust, unfortunately, which is not really correct. Even some of the case studies I shared with you, you'll find they took off very well when somebody from Europe or America came in. So it is an unfortunate situation we have, but we have to live with it now until we also get local funders who can believe in our own. So, and there are a number of them who are coming up there, and I network individuals from within the country who are also supporting local funders. So it is not like only people from Europe or from Asia that have to be funded. Relatively, there have been more compared to people from Africa or Black Africans, but Yeah, so that is the reality. Then BRAC, as somebody mentioned, by the way, BRAC is one of the largest NGO. If you check it out, it is the Brazil, something, not Brazil, Bangladesh, rural something there. And it's one of the largest NGOs in the world. The model that they have used is basically believing the ordinary people and really doing their thing. The other thing you can check is the Grameen model started by Professor Mohammed Yunus, which has also really banking with the poor, the father of SMEs. So you can also check it out, Professor Mohammed Yunus, the founder of Grameen Bank. And then the conservancy initiatives, basically these are, I mentioned to you, either NGOs, international NGOs. And by the way, this is an area which is really attracting a lot of funding. You have to relate it to common trends or current trends like climate change. And there are a lot of funding for this particular area. It depends on whether you are conserving an endangered species or what is the importance of that species. Do you believe in it yourself? And is it a flagship species? And the organization that you can check out, including WWF, Worldwide Fund for Nature, and many others. There is, you can check them out. So conservancy is part and parcel of a key area which is really attracting a lot of funding. Over to you, Paul.
Okay, thank you. Somebody said you elaborate a bit on crowdfunding. And then there is another question that also came from Melvin that says, are Jumia and Copy addressing a real need from the market? So how come they got funding? Yeah, I think we can talk about those two, and then we can bring it to a close.
So again, thank you so much. The area of tech is really becoming a game changer, and it is an area which we must get into. And crowdfunding, the simple crowdfunding is there are ways that we do. You know, sometimes we only think of tech, but in Kenya is known to be one of the most philanthropic countries in Africa, in the world. In fact, there's a study which was carried out by Charity Aid Foundation a couple of years ago, which showed that Kenyans were the most generous in Africa and only second to Indonesia when you look at it from a global point of view. Saying that the basics of crowdfunding is what you have done many years as a country, and it has just gone a notch higher. So there are online platforms where you can put up your case. The most common one is Mchanga, and there's another which was recently launched. Maybe somebody can just type in the chat box, which has also become very, very popular. And crowdfunding, basically, you have to present your strong case, especially through a story, and then you upload it in Mchanga, you follow the terms and conditions, and then you start driving it. And this one goes worldwide. At the international level, we have GoFundMe, there is Kiva, and many others. Even you can see them. And they have really succeeded in mobilizing funds for causes which are close to humanity. So again, the trick there is to have a very original and truthful story and post it. Many people have also abused this platform. There is somebody who once used Facebook and posted a story about a situation, a lady in Kenya, unfortunately, and she gained a lot of money within a very short time. There have been success stories like, if you can remember Steve Biko writing for, I can't remember the name of that gentleman, but he was a popular writer. Steve Biko wrote a story about him, and within 2 hours, and it also included one of the Nyong'o family. And within 2 days, they raised close to 5 million. So crowdfunding through Mchanga is very, very popular. So you can read much more about it. And then somebody's asking about Jumia and Copia. And surprisingly, these two, you see them almost every place, increasing access to retail products at your footstep. And they are coming up. And you know, you might not see them as creating a direct social impact, but they're employing thousands of people. You just read them out, like Copia, for example. It has really created a lot of employment opportunities for people along the value chain, and even Jumia, and even Twiga. The other one which you need to check is Twiga. Is also a platform which has come and really creating a channel for people. So I know we could have questions about them, but these have been studied and have been given a lot of thumbs up. So it is worthy of checking out. So maybe you could be right now in the thinking that whatever you're doing is just kidogo, but it can grow to become this big. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maurice, and for that generosity. Somebody has asked if they can engage you in person, so you can share your contacts maybe in the chat. Not everyone is in our WhatsApp group, but if you are in the WhatsApp group, you can always reach Maurice because he's within the group. Otherwise, Maurice will be able to share his contact, or if you reach to us, Live Your Dream, we can always link you up directly. And at this moment, I'll call Odhiambo. Maybe you are able to go ahead now.